Well, like the prodigal son, I also received an inheritance growing up. My inheritance was my faith and my family. I was definitely the inheritance that my parents gave me, and was really active in youth group. And once I got to college, I began majoring in communication and drama with the intent of going into ministry one day. My wife and I moved to Ireland after we got married for a year, and while we were there, I stopped going to church. And it's the first time in my life that I really wasn't with a faith community. And what I really wanted to do was answer the question, can you live life without God and still be happy? I stopped seeing my family. I stopped going to family events. I stopped hanging out with my old friends. I stopped going to church. I stopped praying. I stopped doing my quiet time. I went from, a youth pastor on the way to, full-time ministry, to being a full-blown nihilist, atheist within a couple years, and just completely threw my faith away and ended up getting into some really bad habits. I began smoking, began drinking, began doing some drugs, got into some unhealthy relationships, almost ruined my marriage. We had to basically totally start over, and my wife was the one who made that decision to stick together. I realized that this search that I had done to try to find out if you can live life without God had completely failed. I wasn't as happy as I thought I would be. I thought that all of these things that I was getting into, all of these vices, that they would feel freeing because I'd said no to them for so long, and I thought that finally saying yes would feel like I was being free. But what I realized was that that was actually the opposite of what happened. Instead of those things freeing me, they actually enslaved me. And so like the story, I was living in the city in a pigsty. I was miserable, and I realized that I had thrown away everything good that my parents had given to me, all for some foolish desire to see what life was like on the other side. I began reading scripture again. I read Ecclesiastes because it seemed kind of safe. It wasn't super churchy. It talks about there's a time to live and a time to die and a time to laugh and a time for tears, and it seemed like a really real book. And there was a fear that I had that when I went back home, that when I began talking to God again, that He was going to be angry and judgmental, and that He was going to make me feel like trash and make me feel guilty for doing what I had done for all those years and for squandering this inheritance that I had received. But just like in the story, God was waiting at the fence, looking for me to come home. He embraced me back into the family. I realized that He had been with me the whole time. He had never left, and He was just waiting for me to come back.